Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sinead Says podcast. Hope we're all doing well this week. I am recording my episode just a little earlier because every time I speak to you, I'm going on a trip or I'm coming back from a trip, but you know, life's for living, you know what I mean? I don't know. I have a wedding in Bali, so we are flying there tomorrow. So excited because it's actually one of my boyfriend's friends. And I was saying this on Instagram today. I was like, it's actually so cool that like when you gain a partner, you also gain like a whole other friendship group. And like, I'm so blessed with all Sam's friends because they're so lovely and so nice and so much fun. So I'm so excited for that. And yeah, I'm just doing it a little bit a week earlier and I have learned a lot this week and I wanted to talk this week about comparison. But before we talk about comparison is a massive factor in our mental well-being and our mental health. Like when we're sitting in a comparison mode and comparing ourselves to other people, sometimes that can really affect our mental health. And sometimes we need support with that. And I just want to talk about our sponsor, which is BetterHelp. And BetterHelp is an online therapy platform. You can use the app. It's very accessible. It's very affordable. And sometimes when we're in those negative loops of comparing ourselves to others and we're catching them, sometimes we need that support and the tools to deal with. And that is why therapy is such an amazing tool. And you hear about, like in every single episode, I always have a story about therapy. So I feel like you guys, you get the drift. You know how much I love therapy and you know how much it has helped me through my journey to self-awareness and my journey to my mental health and my mental well-being as well. So if you want to try BetterHelp and try therapy, it's very affordable and you can get 10% off your first month with betterhelp.com/Sinead. That is betterhelp.com/Sinead. So we're going to just dive into what I learned this week. All right, we're still going with the sections. 3 sections. What I learned this week, quote of the week, and listeners' messages. So I wanted to talk this week about comparison. There was a few questions and it was kind of striked from last week's podcast about comparing yourself to others, your friends, your people around you, etc., etc. And I've actually read a whole book on comparison, and the book is from, let me get her name here. I've just got a few notes from the book, from my highlights, etc., to like help me through this because that's a good book. The book's by Lucy Sheridan and she is a comparison coach. She just became really obsessed with learning to, you know, stop comparing yourself to others and how to navigate it and be better in yourself. Because she was someone that used to compare, like she said that she was just one of those people that just compared so much and it was really affecting her well-being. So she just dived right into like all this research, to all those coach programs, and I've listened to her favorite podcasts and I just really enjoyed what she said, and I took like little bits from it to like help you understand comparison and, you know, have little tips and tricks to go through it. But first I wanted to talk about like our generation as a whole. Our generation as a whole is very much in comparison because of Instagram, TikTok. We have all these, we have a lot more people to compare ourselves to than like before all this happened. You know, our parents' age, you know, they didn't have phones like we do now. So they couldn't look at what people were doing. They basically couldn't look at what people were doing and they didn't have that feeling of comparison. Yeah, there might have been the odd person went on the nicest holiday and they would have had like this little like inkling of comparison. But I think like our generation is kind of hit hard. And then it's also our generation that really is struggling with our mental health and with our anxiety. So I think like comparison has a massive part to play, and that's why we need to bring awareness to it and like help us understand as well. Like we have to really go easy on ourselves because our generation has a lot more like, just because we are constantly looking at highlight reels all day, you're looking. And you know, another thing, right? Do you remember, like I remember trying to keep up with everyone at the start of Instagram. Like everyone was doing all these nice holidays and like even this, right? I always talk about this, the fact that I could never afford nice coffee and like whenever I was living here, and I would always see people going out for their nice coffee walks and even simple things like that, when years ago I would have never bought coffee every day and like had a nice coffee walk. But like when I started looking at people, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I need to go for a nice coffee walk. But like at that point in my life, I didn't even have the money to do that. So like I was comparing myself to people just having like nice coffee. And sometimes we're at times of our lives where we're, you know, making ends meet. And then if you look at other people, it can make us feel shit about ourselves, even a coffee walk, even those little things. So like, please be mindful of you know, the era that we live in, and that sometimes we go through in and out of these phases. Sometimes we're trying to make ends meet, we're trying to save for stuff, and like we can look at all these things and think we need them because other people have them. Like we need this nice holiday to buy. We need this Dyson Airwrap. No, the Dyson Airwrap was a whole era in itself, because the Dyson Airwrap, like those TikToks were coming out, like they sold the dream. But anyway, you get what I mean. We see a lot of things online, and we have to be more aware of the role comparison has in us and the relationship we have with comparison, and how to navigate it and have the tools to deal with it. Because I feel like it's not going to get any easier in terms of everyone doing all these things and we just want to do them. So yeah, I wanted to talk about little bits and tips and tricks that she said in her book, etc., etc. She talks about this. She has 4 types of, how do you call this? Comparison. And one of them was like a scanner. So someone who scans like scans everyone. Someone who compares themselves to all different types and all different places to like everyone, all right? And then because she coaches these people, so she kind of has to fit them in their certain areas or whatever. And then she said scout, comparing to people in their life. So that's just like comparing someone, like, you know, like your brother or your sister or your friends or your family or etc., like someone in your life. Then there's archer, and this is someone who compares themselves to complete strangers, like they do not know at all, like just like in one area of their, like could be like their relationship or their house or career or whatever. And then the last one was a squirrel. So she says like the one that's like looking for a nut, and she's like a specific one way to someone they might know. For example, like comparing their relationships or your friends. And I was kind of looking at this like, which one am I? And I definitely think that I am a scout. I think I compare myself to the people that I'm around mostly, rather than like people, you know, strangers on the internet as much. I mean, I always think like it's harder for me, I think, because the people in my life we're on the similar journey. So if like someone is doing better or something, like I feel like, oh, I might compare there. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm one of those. And the best thing to do is to like notice it and be aware and catch it before it spirals, because we can sit there all day and actually be scrolling mindlessly and constantly comparing ourselves to other people. But without the awareness and going, stop, then it's really hard to get a hold of it. An example this week, I was actually in a massive episode of comparison this week because I'm going to Bali, and there's like loads of us going, and I felt like I was comparing myself, like my body and stuff, because like we're going, you know, we're going to be in bikinis and we're doing all these bikini things. And I was like looking at my friends around me being like, oh my God, their bodies are so amazing. But I was noticing what was making me feel like that, etc. And like I have a few friends, and if you're listening to this, you know who you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about. But like, you know, complaining about their bodies, saying their bodies aren't good enough for like where we're going, blah, blah, blah. And obviously like in my friendship group, my close friends, like we're so good at like building each other up. Like we don't really talk about, they know that if they talk about their body or anything in front of me, I'm like, I need an affirmation, I need something good. I was like, our bodies are amazing, guys. We need to stop. We are in the youngest prime of our lives. We are always going to, like, in years to come, we're going to wish we were this healthy, this happy, and this the way we are right now. So we are in our best era. I always try to tell them, etc. But I noticed that I was comparing myself. And I noticed this when I looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh, I better go to the gym, or I better do this. And that's not usually like me. I have really, really worked on this. But then the awareness of other people talking about their bodies around me whenever their bodies are absolutely banging, by the way. And that makes me, and like, instead of like looking at it and being like, looking at myself in the mirror and not being aware of comparing myself, I was like, I'm comparing myself to what these people are saying. I need to be mindful that when someone talks bad about their body, it doesn't mean that my body is bad. It means that their relationship with their body needs a bit of tender loving care. And that's what I do. I try to help them. I try to be like, you're amazing, and like, let's stop talking bad about our body, because our thoughts are what make it. Do you know what I mean? So if you even listen to like Joe Dispenza's podcast with, I haven't listened to it all, but basically he talks about like our thoughts matter. And he, Stephen Bartlett asked him like, what do you say to people that say that their thoughts don't matter? And he's like, yeah, their thoughts don't matter to them then. You know, he was, and but like your thoughts do matter, because if you're constantly thinking about your body or comparing yourself to others, you're letting that, instead of saying like, I am amazing the way I am, I'm in the best time of my life, I like, when you say these things to yourself, you believe them. Your brain does not know any different to what you tell it. So that is why. So I noticed myself feeling like this, and what did I do? every morning I would listen to affirmations. I literally woke up and was like 5 minutes of affirmations, of good affirmations, like, you know, I am healthy. I am like, I honestly knew that I was in that mode. And instead of spiraling and like sabotaging my own automatic negative thoughts, I was bringing them to the forefront and dealing with them and being like, no, you're just kind of in a little cycle right now, and your body's amazing and your life is amazing, and you need to stop comparing yourself to other people, because that's what you're doing. And that was taking away my joy from the everyday life that I usually do. I was talking about this last week. There's a great book called Midnight Library, and it's about like this person who constantly compares themselves to other people's lives and wants all these other lives, and then finally gets them. But her thoughts about the in the life were still getting her down. And it's all about your thoughts and how you feel and how you talk to yourself every single day. And we were talking about this in meditation class as well. I take people through meditation, and what I do in the meditations is that like I teach them to see the blessings in every single day and everything good that we have. You know, we can look at our bodies and our lives, but we can also say that we have 2 legs that can walk, run and dance. We have smell and taste. We can taste our favorite foods. We can smell our favorite flowers. We've got 2 arms. We can hug, like all these things that we do have. Instead of comparing ourselves to other, we can start to look inner. But this girl's loads of tips. Sorry, I'm just kind of waffling off on my own wee tangents. But so what she said was like, when you find yourself in this comparison mode, and like I was kind of reading the book and I was like, is it comparison or is it envy or is it both? But obviously envy. I've spoken about envy on a podcast before and like how to navigate it, etc. And I have wee techniques that I do with clients in meditation as well. When you find yourself in comparison, obviously the first thing is notice it. Do not let them automatic negative thoughts come in. Let's talk about automatic negative thoughts for 2 seconds in case we need a recap, because I have spoken about it before. So automatic negative thoughts, also known as ants, right, can infest your brain if you don't bring them to the forefront. All right. So I could spiral my thoughts about comparing my life, like someone else's success to mine, someone's body to mine, all these things. And then I let that spiral without actually stopping and going, hold on a minute, what is the truth about this? Is this just my thoughts? And then if you don't get that ant out and deal with it and journal on it or meditate on it or see the truth in it or look at your beliefs around it, then you're going to just let your brain be infested by ants. And they're going to be crawling everywhere. We don't want that. All right. When we get a negative thought, we need to be like, right, where's this coming from? How can I get better? And this is what this book's all about when it comes to thing. But she said, whenever you are in this episode of comparison, this is a great affirmation to say, good for you and the same for me. So like if someone is, you know, doing so well in their job, or someone's got something that you think that you want, good for you and the same for me. Wherever I am in life, the same for me and good for you. And Michaela said this quote to me as well one day, and she said like, was it Michaela? I can't remember. Or was it? Okay, I can't remember. But anyway, when someone says like, when you're comparing yourself to someone, like their job or their relationship or how much money they have, what you need to say to yourself is, the thing that you're comparing yourself over, would you swap your entire life, your friends, your loved ones, the way you feel in your body, the way you feel in your mind, would you swap everything that you have with that person and just swap? Well, no, because you have so much parts of your life you would miss. You have so much parts of life that you absolutely love, and everyone has their weaknesses and their strengths. All right. So just because someone is a little farther than you in their career doesn't mean that you can't get that far, or it doesn't mean that you don't have all these other amazing things in your life that you can look at yourself and reflect on how amazing they all are. Because sometimes you can just focus on that one thing, and in that comparison, as people say, like comparison is the thief of joy. It truly is, because you can see it. Like our generation is in a massive comparison, I don't know what you call it, era, and it's stealing our joy. Like we see people off on holidays. We want to go on holidays. What if we don't have the money to go on holidays right now? We're saving for something, but we're like, no, we're going to try and do it because everyone else is doing it. How about we just be content the way we are? And how about we just do things at our own pace and know that like if someone else can do it, we can do it as well. But at the same time, we need to be content with ourselves. So yeah. And then, the next thing she was saying is, when you're comparing yourself to someone, what is this showing me? What is it showing me? can we get some inspiration from this? So let's just say this person, oh, here's an example. So me, obviously the content creator, I'm not that great at content, even though it's my job. Like I see people putting up content all day. You know those videos with like the captions and all, and I'm like, I should so do that. And I compare myself to all these people, and they're like obviously growing their Instagrams a lot, blah, blah, blah. And I would be like, oh my God. And I can see my wee twinge of comparison. What is that actually showing me? It's showing me that, you know, maybe I should be putting time into making content like that impacts people the way that content has impacted me. What is that showing me? Like when a comparison arises, get the journal out and be like, what is that showing me? Maybe I should be making more effort with my content. Maybe I should be doing better. Like this person could be, you know, having such a good life and like doing everything. And then you'd be like, what are their habits? Their habits are, they're probably getting up early and going to the gym. And you're like, it's showing me inspiration instead of comparing. So like usually comparison comes up when we are not really in our true higher selves, or we're not like striving to our best. Comparison never comes up for me when I'm living in my higher self, you know, because sometimes it's like in my lower self, and I will look at other people and be like, oh, so what is this showing me can really help and guide you to what you truly, truly desire. So next time these things come up, have a look at what it's showing you, get your journal out and get excited about finding out more about yourself, because usually comparison, envy, all these things come up because it is something that we truly desire. So next thing she said was find your pit, right? And pit stands for proof it's possible, all right? Because sometimes we can sit there and like sit in envy and comparison and all these things, but watching someone do something that we desire is proof it's possible. So go out there, find people that you know have done something and be like, there's proof that it's possible. What are they doing and how can I do it? And it's just like that whole thing I said about role models a while back as well. Just like, you know, you can ask someone someone can make the most amazing chocolate cake, and you're like, I can't make that chocolate cake. But if they tell you a step-by-step recipe, of course you can make that cake, you know? Sometimes it's about getting curious and asking questions and asking how you do that and why, and it's possible. So find your pit. Another bit you're saying, like a lot of people compare themselves to different eras of themselves. And I think I do this as well in terms of like and I could say like, oh, I wish I'm in Bali. I would have been so strict to my routine. I would have been so strict with meditating and journaling and reading. And I find it very difficult here because I feel like I have a lot more things to do. I have a lot more responsibilities in my different businesses. I feel like I have a lot more friends around me that are like, you know, that I make plans with. I make too many plans sometimes, I know. And so when you're comparing yourself to a different era of yourself, the question you need to ask yourself is, how can I create parts of this person now? And what was I doing back then? So I can compare myself to how productive I was in Bali, but what was I doing every day? I do get up early now, but I get up early and do different things, you know what I mean? Rather than I got up early and I meditated and I had a full hour basically, but now I'm just I am doing it, but I'm not as strict on it, if you know what I mean? Like if Sinead wants to go for a sunrise, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can't deny myself that. But at the same time, if I want to be bringing out new courses very soon, I need to be doing that. So instead of comparing myself to the person I was in Bali, like working a lot more, I am working a lot more, but just not on the creative stuff that I want to work on, I suppose. I'm just working I'm just working. And I can look at that and be like, okay, what am I doing there? First of all, like I had boundaries. And you know, I had boundaries. Siobhan is very good at boundaries, and I obviously live with Siobhan in Bali, and she had very good boundaries. So she had this big stint of work in the morning, and I just had this big stint with her. But like this was my creative time before people woke up in the UK, and it was just very, very good. So I look back at them and like, Sinead, I had boundaries and I had more time to meditate. So I need to make more time. It is hard though. It's hard. I actually find it really hard to, even like when I say where it sounds, I'm like, I'm not just going to get down and like, you know, because I would like meditate at the bottom of my bed or outside when it's sunny. I'm like, I can't really go down there and start meditating. It's strange. So I even feel like I was going to bring that up in my next Fanos with him and be like, I'm really struggling to get my meditations in when I'm staying with you. So I don't know how to do this. You know, maybe I should ask him for a meditation chair in his room. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. There's your journal, and there's like how you can move forward. And then there's this thing that she called ZeroSum Game. And it was when people were asking, like people were asking her questions actually, and they were asking her just about people not being able to be happy for other people, especially because they are like jealous or they feel envy or comparison or whatever. And the zero-sum game means a win for someone else is a loss for you, when in fact it is not at all. And her steps were like, the first thing was the awareness of not wanting to feel like this. And that's the first step. So when you feel like you're feeling envious or you're in comparison, like your first step of asking that question of how can I not feel like this is like the awareness that you need. And then she said this thing, and it said, how do I invest in myself? So this is something you can ask yourself if you're feeling like this. How do I invest in myself so that I can be happy in the lane that I'm in? So when people report good news, I won't get upset or jealous. And that is a great journal prompt. How can I invest in myself so that I can be happy in the lane that I'm in? All right. So like, let's just say you are envious of someone, or you are feeling a bit, you could be like, how can I invest myself to feel good in this moment? And as I said before, you don't feel this massive pain of comparison when you're living in your higher self. So look at the parts of where you are in life and be like, okay, how can I feel better in myself so that I don't get stuck in this negative thought or in this negative pattern of comparison? And all those like little tips really, really did help me. So I thought that like I would just share them with you. I'm just going to say her name again because her book is Lucy Sheridan, and it was good. And yeah, I felt that really helped me. I feel like I've been stuck in comparison sometimes, and I just catch it. I'm like, okay, your comparison, because like another thing she was talking about was, no, actually she wasn't talking about this, but I kind of came up with it myself. Because obviously when you're having comparison, like body issues and like body comparison or appearance comparison, you need to look at like the beliefs you have around how you should look. And I think that's where I deep dived in. Like I used to think that because I was like, at the start I was obviously a fitness influencer, and I felt like I needed to look like a fitness influencer. So like I remember if I had like went on holiday and put on my holiday weight, which is fucking totally normal. Like you're drinking 10 million strawberry daiquiris and Lay's crisps, you know what I mean? And I would be like, I wouldn't come on screen if I didn't feel good. But then I started to get rid of that, because I was just like I really, really worked on myself then. And I was like, I only feel like this because of the beliefs I have of how I should look. When in fact, everyone is totally different. Everyone is made unique. We should not look like each other. That is why we're all attracted to different people, because we're all unique and we all have different tastes in life. And we are not all supposed to look like the same person. And I'm not supposed to look like anything. I'm supposed to just look like me. And then when I'm feeling, it's different than if you're having bad habits, then you want to feel good because you want healthy habits. But then like if you're being the best person if you're being the best that you can be, you're working out, you're going to the gym, you're eating healthy, you're being good to yourself. And that's when you should be accepting yourself. You know what I mean? That's when you should be accepting exactly who you are, because you shouldn't be like there's no perfect person, and every perfect person has their own insecurities anyway. But yeah, I know another thing as well, like when you're comparing yourself to someone, like sometimes when you notice it, like there's good things to do. Like obviously you can mute people on Instagram. I am such a people pleaser. Like I find it so difficult to remove people off Instagram, because I just feel like, oh my God, no, what did they say that we feel? No, people pleaser. Here we go again. But anyway, so like I remember like watching someone as well, and they were just like talking about their body and much they wanted to lose it. And I was like, no, this girl is supposed to lose some body. Why is she talking like this? And then I remember from that moment on, I was like, I'm never ever doing that on Instagram. I'm never ever saying something like that, because, you know, that triggered me a lot. And I was just like, I wanted to unfollow a person. I didn't know. I probably muted them, I think. But I was just like, but that's made me feel like that. The belief and what's happened has triggered something. And then I was aware of it. I'm aware that that's made me feel like that, but that's not actually true. I don't have to look like anything. I have to just be the best version of myself in terms of like healthy habits. You know, I have to, if I want to feel good, I need to examine my habits and be like, okay, does that make me feel good? Am I doing everything for me? And then if you are doing everything for you, then you know what I mean? It's just like the way we have these beliefs on how we should look, that's what needs to be examined there when it comes to comparing yourself. And I just always say this. I always say like, I have a meditation, and it's called, I don't know if it's the self-love or the self-acceptance meditation, but I basically get people to visualize someone they love so much. So like visualize someone you love so much, like your best friend, like someone you just fucking love, right? Like your boyfriend or just anyone, right? And then imagine them complaining about what they think is their insecurities or their flaws. Like maybe they're saying like they're put on weight or their skin, and it's mad because you don't see any of that. love them. And like, it's so frustrating to watch them complain about something because they just are. They just are who they are meant to be. And they're just perfect the way they are. And I always think, like, if you look at people like that with the eyes like that, then you should be looking at yourself like that. You know, and it's a good way to self-accept. But yeah, that's, you know, another thing I learned actually, just quickly. I was listening to this podcast. I listen to a lot of therapy podcasts. I listen to a lot of people in therapy in podcasts, and I read a lot of books on therapy cases, you know, like case studies about like people, what's happening and how they figure out how to help, right? Love that. That is a bit of me. And then there was this case, and there was a wife and a husband, and they were in a bit of a sexless period of their life, in a sexless marriage, and they just had kids, or they had kids or whatever. They definitely have kids. And the therapist was saying it's usually the woman that doesn't want to have the sex. And why is this, right? And she had this theory that women, when they have children, get all they need. They get the cuddles, they get the intimacy, they get the love, they get, I love you, mommy, and I need you, mommy, and I need, all right? They get it all. And then like when, especially from like babies, newborn babies, like they just need you so much. So they get everything that they need, because you know the way you used to get all that from your partner, you used to get like your intimacy, like, and also like sex for a woman is just such a way to get close to their partner, like, because women just need more closeness. So like sex is a way to get closer and get more intimacy. So like they get that from them. But then when a woman has a baby, like she said that women obviously get everything they need that whole day. They get the cuddles, they get the intimacy, they get the love. And then the husband comes home and then they don't need it anymore, you know? But he needs it too. And then that's what she said in the podcast. She was like, he needs it too. And like, you need to realize that, like, you get it all day, so like you feel like you don't need it. But also like he deserves to have all that love and intimacy as well, blah, blah, blah. And then like they did all these plans. Actually, I remember the podcast now, it's called Where Shall I Begin? So she does by Esther Perel. Love her, by the way. Read all her books. Fab. So yeah, I actually found that quite interesting, because I was like, that actually makes so much sense, because we obviously do get so much from our kids, and we get so much, and then we have to remember that like our romantic relationships have to be nurtured, and then I actually seen somebody say that you need like 90 minutes a day, or 90 minutes a week talking to your partner, just quality time, which I have learned a lot in my relationship. And you know, it's so funny, because I've learned a lot about my relationship, and then like me and Sam always have like open conversations or whatever, and we've been learning a lot because we're in a new relationship. And then he's going to kill me for saying this, but because he might not do it, but he was like, maybe I should go on the podcast. And I was like, I think you should. My friends always say that Sam is the best advice giver ever. And he was like, maybe I should. And I was like, you should come on. So let's hope he comes on and talks about it. So I'll hold it to him now. I don't think he listens to this. I don't know. Maybe his mom listens to this. Hi, Coco, if you're there. Anyway, okay. So the next bit is quote of the week. Because we're talking about comparison, I was like, we need to get some comparison quotes up. So there's a few different quotes that I wanted to talk about. I always just say that I'm going to do one, then do more. But I thought I would get some comparison quotes up. And it says, every minute you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a minute spent wasting your own. Love that little one. And I literally have so many here, I don't know why. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. So true. This is very similar. Don't compare your life to others. There's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. Love that one. Okay. Listeners' messages. Okay, this is the part where you say things, right? I'm having trouble logging into the Instagram of the podcast for some reason, but I did put up a question box about comparison. I was like, I'm doing a podcast on comparison if anyone's got any questions. And someone said, comparison to siblings. Mom always compares us and makes me feel awful. Any tips? I think this is a good one, right? Because I feel this as well, right? Because me and my brother are very different. Like, I am a bit of a traveler. I've been away from home since I was 18. He obviously, you know, stayed at home, and, you know, he works with my dad, and he has lovely little life, his lovely little wife. And obviously, like, we have two different lives. And like, I know that, you know, my mom dotes on my brother because like he's close and they're so similar. And like, sometimes it's just, we are very, very different. And, you know, I used to feel like I wasn't doing what they wanted, but I feel like that's because I was kind of trying to find who I was. and they were kind of confused and they just wanted the best for me. They just wanted me to be safe. So your parents usually want you to be safe. So they want you to just be safe. So obviously when I was out trying to find myself and I had no money and I was running around traveling and I could barely pay rent. Obviously my mum and dad were worried about me and they were like, come back and, get a job and like, look at your brother, blah, blah, blah. And like, sometimes that's not even like, it's a way of them trying to make you safe as possible. But I'll tell you this, it was ever since like I found myself and I've found my purpose and I'm really enjoying what I do, then like I've seen such a different side to them and how they compare us and stuff like that. And I've actually, like, even like when I was doing my live show, my mum and dad weren't really gonna go, and I was like, mum and dad, I'd really, really love you to go, because like I'd love you to see what I do and like stuff like that. And they came to my show and I got this little message from my mom and like, just like, I'm so proud of you. And like, my dad was coming in and he was like taking photos of the sign. And like, I think like when they truly see that you're happy, that they'll stop like that comparison. I think most of the time they're trying to make you feel safe. And then also like sometimes your parents are triggered too. Sometimes your parents are triggered if like you say, for example, you're doing something they always wanted to do. They never got the chance to travel the world when they were our age, and sometimes it does trigger them a little bit. And like they might have like small digs or like, some envy triggers. So I think like knowing that they're doing the best what they can do and trying your best not to take things personal or be too sensitive. Like I feel like everyone's trying to do the best they can do, and I think like having that compassion for them always really helped me with that. Somebody said, I don't usually compare, but difficult when all my friends are on big salaries and I'm not. And do you know what I was watching the other day, which made sense, right? I was watching that, that Netflix show with Johnny Depp and all. And I was watching Johnny Depp in his house, and he obviously was going through a lot, right? And I was watching him and I was like, he's got everything that we think we want. Like he's got the money, he's got the house, he's got the fame, he's got everything. But like he looked really sad and he looked really distressed in some of those like videos and stuff. And I was just like, that just shows you that like money can never buy you contentness and happiness. And like the happiness is like the little things in life. And, if money made us more happier and all this things, then like, happy people wouldn't be depressed. But there's a lot of happy people, or rich people wouldn't be depressed, but there's a lot of rich people depressed. I think the best thing in life is getting to know yourself and who you are and being curious and like looking at the little things in life, like the blessings that we have every single day. And that is why like our gratitude list is so good. And I know gratitude lists like seems so cliche, but I do a gratitude list every single day. 5 new things every single day and they can't be the same as the day before. And I try my best to like search the good in every single thing. Like here's a good one for you. Sinead had to kill a cockroach today downstairs outside, and she was having a mental breakdown. And I remembered a time when I lived in a house that was infested with cockroaches. We lived in a 5-bedroom house. One of the living room was turned into a bedroom. The kitchen was the size of, it was about 2 meters. It wasn't even, I actually think it was the tiniest thing I've ever seen. And I remember having to kill all those cockroaches, and they were coming out of this thing. No, disgusting. But obviously couldn't afford to move out. I couldn't afford a bond anywhere else. So this is where I had to live. So I had to do all these things. And she was killing that cockroach. And I goes, oh my God, I've come a long way since that 5-bedroom house with those cockroaches. I think like sometimes we just have to be grateful for like all the little things, like even the wins of having one cockroach in your house. By the way, cockroaches are pretty normal in Australia. You get used to them. I'll never forget my first cockroach. I honestly was like, I can't live here. I have to leave. But I don't see much in this house, but in that house, yes. I'm just reading people's things. I actually like what this person said. She said, comparison can be healthy if it makes you realize what you want something that someone else has, but you truly have to believe that there is an abundance for everyone, or jealous can become unhealthy. But there is a fine line. And I know that. I think like, even when we were talking before, like when I was reading those books about comparison, I thought I was going to get all these tools to deal with comparison. But like usually these things come up because they're sparking what we truly want, and then you have to look at those things. So it's a good way to find out about yourself when you're feeling in comparison as well. This is a good one as well. Comparing others' relationships to your own, comparing how other women are treated by their partners, what they do in their home. And I think this is so important as well, to be transparent. Like I know that everybody goes through this. Like you'll look on Instagram and you'll see, like for example, like Sam taking me away for my birthday. I'm sure some people are looking at like, I wish my boyfriend would plan a whole holiday, right? And it's funny because we'll probably talk about this if he ever does come on a podcast, but something I really love is like quality time. And obviously we don't get as much of that because he is so busy, like, and I get that, like, he is a very busy person and he's got like so much training to do, he's whatever. And then like there was one day I was like, oh, can we just have this? And we didn't have an argument. Do we have an argument? Yeah, we had an argument. But I was just like, can we just have like a day like me and you, blah, blah, blah. And then he was just like, but I'm seeing, right? And then it's funny because I seen like my friends and they were like down at the pool in the morning. And obviously he trains all morning. I don't get to see him in the morning that much. I get to obviously wake up beside him, but he goes and trains. I was like, oh, I would love if we could just go down to the pool for a diff in the morning. And then I was like, well, that person is probably looking at my Instagram and saying, I wish my boyfriend would take me to New Zealand. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, and then I was like, oh no, you need to rein it back in. And like, you need to write a list of all the things that you love about your partner, because there's an abundance in relationships as well. Like I actually wrote the new course is kind of about abundance in this. And sometimes we can look at other people's relationships on Instagram or whatever and think, oh, that's what we want. But like right in front of us is something that is so special. And we need to like sit there and write our gratitude list for our relationships and everything that they do. And everyone is so different. Everyone, I could sit there and be like, looking at someone else like, oh, I wish I could do that. But then like I get so much. I get abundance of love. I get words of affirmation. I get planned trips away. Like I'm so fucking lucky. And like I had to sit there and be like, oh no, I need to rein that back in. So sometimes like watch people on Instagram but sometimes like if you're like, oh, for example, if I'm like, oh, I wish I could go down to that. And then I actually said, so I'm like, could we do that? And he's like, yeah, of course. Let's do it on Saturday morning. I was like, all right, there you go. Sometimes it's like, oh, maybe I do want that. And then you see if they can have it. And then, yeah, sometimes men aren't mind readers. We know that for free. But yeah, I better leave this because my podcast's sitting over 40 minutes. Anyway, let me know how you like these podcasts. Obviously, I'm bringing more guests in. I had Dominique in last week. Maybe I have someone coming on to talk about a whole podcast about cheating. I think that's going to be so interesting. I love talking about stuff like that. Like the human behavior behind cheating is fascinating to me. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And yeah, let me know if you want any more guests. Like I would love if you could subscribe. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sinead Says podcast. Have a good day.